right, here we go. All right, today we are focusing in on the Glendale community. And we have Mr. Tom Marsh and Mr. Walt Thompson with us today. I want to thank you all for doing this today. First of all, just tell me, we'll start with Tom. Tell me about your family and growing up in Glendale.
In Glendale, we where we lived most of my life, still here, thankfully. My parents were Oscar Marsh and Henrietta Poole, and they raised 10 children. Me being the sixth or seventh, I don't know, I was a baby boy in the family. I had 3 sisters, and we were actually brought up very poor in at that period in time. Dad moved down there in right after the Depression in the 30s. He lived here in Greenback before then. Over here on the oh boy. I got that too, Charlie. I forget.
Well, that's
But they lived there in Greenback, and he bought that. He went to work for TVA at that time when TVA Dam, Fort Loudon Dam was being built. He bought a little old 80-acre farm there, and which we were raised on, and life was good. Although we had very little money or anything, but we never wanted for anything. Everybody was happy. It was a good family, good community area that we lived in, and excellent neighbors at that time, which is what really kept me interested in the historical part of the county and stuff. We seem to be drifting away from being neighbors and being community minded anymore. And that's why I came.
Okay, good
So,
deal. Good deal.
You know, out of my curiosity, I like to see other people that's got the same interests that I've got, and maintaining communities and being friends and neighbors. Glendale, where we lived, was actually a black community, basically. When Dad moved in there, there was the Smiths, the Jacksons, the Dotsons, the Thompsons, and at that time and period in time, they were as good as, we were all just good neighbors. We got along, didn't we?
oh yeah.
Basically, and at that time. And we could still do that.
Sure.
We can still do that.
Mr. Walt, tell me about your family growing up in Glendale.
Oh Lord, I'm gonna start mine. Well, I was born in Material Holler, off they call it the East Coast, I believe, highway right coming through there now, next to Morgan. That's where I was born at, and we from there, my daddy, of course, he rented farms, and then we just kind of moved around at different places, and we lived there a while, and then we moved to a place called Mr. Blankenship. We lived there a while, floated around, then we moved to the New Mission down there at Uncle Jack Baker's place, Ain't Lottie. Later, yeah, lived down there. Then we wound it back up, I guess, we live at near the old National Campground it was R.L. Thompson farm. We stayed there 9 years. That's where my brother, which I had 3 boys there was of us and 1 girl in the family, and that's where we played and had more fun around that hill there for about 9 years. Of course, then we moved into Blunt County, and of course they closed his school up out here. Reason why my daddy left here, there wasn't school, so we moved to Blunt County. went up there and stayed here, and Daddy had rented the farm up there. And this fella had rented the farm, and he promised my daddy 2 years of he's going to be for rented. Daddy. So he lost the farm, so we had to move back.
Oh.
So we moved back down here at my mother's old home place, which is Teeter's bought it there in the Knobs, they call it. Teeter's farm. That was the old Henley farm. That's my grandfather and grandmother lived there. And so we
Down here in
lived.
the gap of the ridge.
There's something about the gap in there. Next to me.
In Morganton.
Yeah, them. Uh-huh. So they, after they, I lost my thoughts. I'm getting old like you. I lose my thoughts pretty quick. What if I can say there about something about the old home play? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My brain go blank on me while here. If I get started back on that subject from the old campground. And so we done moved to Maryville, back down there. Then we went back to Maryville. Been up there, moved up there in 1942, and to where we're living at now. So we've been up there and it goes. When I lost one of my brothers, older brother James, there was 3 boys and a girl, like I say. And Sam, my other brother, he lives at Nashville, Antioch, and I live right there. And my sister lived close there in Louisville. So
all long livers as well.
yeah, and when we moved back up there, I quit. One thing I made a mistake. I quit going to school and went to work. And the rest of them got more education than I. I had an uncle, which Uncle Soul, which I told me he had a big farm down here off of 95, and so he always said, "Be working and save your money, you'd have something." And that's where I took off for him, a young man. I ain't got anything, but anyhow, that's what he used to get up out of bed and go to work. You have something. So he was a big farmer down there off of 95. That's where the farm where Bailey bought down on 95.
Tell me about your mother. Tell me about your mother.
My mother, she was a Henley. Grandma Creasy was a McGee, and she come. Grandpa Follow, he was Henley. He come. I believe they said out of Kentucky. Grandma Creasy was just. She was free just 2 days or 3 days. My great grandmother was when the slaves. Down here at McGee Station, they call it. I think down here all where they call it McGee Station. So that's where my mother come in, and they was. It took me a while to count them up. They was in the family. Grandpa Follow and Grandma Creasy. They had about they had about 8 or 10 kids of those. Uncle Sam, Uncle Gene, and of course there's Uncle Arthur, Uncle Lon, Aunt Jean, and I know I'm missing 1 or 2 there, but there's a good family of them. And my mother, she's just a mother, all I can say. She took care of it, done everything we did for the kids, make it happy as we could. But she was, that's about all I can say.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The next one, we're going to ask you about your schooling. Tom, where did you go to grammar school?
Down at Glendale.
Okay.
I went through the 8th grade there.
And then you went to
And,
Greenback?
I went to come to Greenback for high school.
Okay.
I failed 1st grade at Thelma Cooper. We have our little story. We have our meetings, our graduation meeting every Tuesday, and everybody was talking about their ages, and they're all 76, and I'm 77, and Miss Cooper, my English high school teacher, which is 94, 95 years old. she said, well, how come you're 77 and the rest of them are 76? And I said, well, I failed first grade. And she said, I've never heard of anybody failing first grade, and I've taught school for 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
you know.
Go
And
ahead.
so I said, well, I failed. That set me back a year, and that's why I'm the oldest in the class, you know. Everybody else 76, and I'm 77. And she said, well, Tom said, junior English said, I almost failed you. You almost were two years behind. So, and we met her over at the library. That's the lady.
There must be something good in the water around here because none of you look your ages. Do you remember any friends or teachers at Glendale?
Oh, yeah. Miss Ella Mizell was first grade teacher. It was that's probably why I failed, I guess. She was a strict disciplinarian, Miss Ella was. And Fleda Mae Jones, Mary Long, excuse me, was principal for a while, I think, and Harold Calder was principal there. Got that same thing, Charlie.
But you remember quite a few of them, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you went to Craig's Chapel, correct?
Yeah, there's a school out there. I started off when we lived at the old home place when we were just a little kid, and at the Pilly Hughes place. That's where I first started school. And that little school down there on the top of the hill, but the name is now Whipwell Holler now.
Repeat that. It's what?
Whipwell Holler. The little school up there that I started out with. So I can remember different ones. When I started school, some of the bigger kids would grab me up. They want to get there. And grab me, some throw me up, and I put my legs over, and they'd catch my feet, and you know how to see, and run to get to school. I can remember that. I can remember it real well. There was some of the neighbors, the Earls, they would do that. The Jackson boys would pick me up. Just different boys. I can't think of all of them, but they just grabbed me up and run to get to school to play at that little school down there at the end of the holler. It closed up. Then they started moving us to Greenback. And Guy Hammondtree got to haul us from, then pick us up right at the Alexander place. That's where a lot of us was, and carry us to here, to Craig Chapel.
Okay.
That's where we went up there. I hit this school out there.
How many classrooms were at Craig's Chapel? Do you remember?
Just one room, and all of them's in there, and it was just stacked full of them. The teacher would always take care of it, and she kept a big switch up in the over and you know, they were just, we had a good time in the little school, but they were just small. And we had Miss Day was the first teacher I can remember of, and then we had a Miss Wallace, A.M.R. Montgomery, Grace Lee. Well, she was distant. Well, she was kin to my daddy first, couldn't be my second. And she was the meanest teacher we had, and me and her couldn't get along. I got a lot of whooping with her. She was on the baker side, on my daddy's side there. So, but I can't think of any other teacher. Then they moved away while then the school never went to going down. And graduation, there's all the children, a few of them graduate in the 8th grade. My brother Sam, too, he graduated out there. He was older. And they was the Pride Girl and Dobson children. They just different ones. They all graduated and finally got to school down. It was smaller like at the end there. So they finally just closed it up out there again and went to bus, and then that's when more or less the integration went to moving the children to the blacks and whites together.
Yeah.
So.
How many classrooms were at Glendale when you went, Tom?
How many children?
How many classrooms?
4.
4.
We doubled in first grade, second,
Yeah.
third and fourth grade, and the fifth, I think, and the sixth and or the seventh and eighth grade was
Okay.
separate.
Well, in the Glendale community, I suppose there weren't a lot of stores and a lot of different places you could go. So my question is, what did you do to have a good time? What were fun activities that you did in the community?
I wasn't a safe squirrel in the county, was I? If it,
Know that?
we'd run him down. You know.
Well, that's where it was with us. See, I tell somebody I enjoy where we lived at down there. I don't know, cut you off, but on a Sunday we went to the little church. We come up here that. Well, me and my brothers, we had walked all these little roads. They gravel roads in. I said, man, be somebody come by with an A-mile and a T-mile, blow a little dust on us. But I don't know. We just young. Didn't this? Right now I think we're silly. I used to walk to this drugstore next door. I had to get up, got a money, and get a nickel cone ice cream on Sunday evening, which it's about 4 or 5 miles, I guess, down there to where we lived at and more.
That was entertainment.
It was
Yeah,
entertainment.
yeah, we just had to get together. Some of the kids up here, the Marvin Black, Raymond Black, some of the hired boys, they'd be standing around this little John Best store, and we'd play a little bit. Go. My daddy told us to get back there before dark, and we always made it back before dark. So we did. We had a little teasing when he got home with us because we didn't get back.
That's good.